Good morning. It is a cold day here in Tokyo, and I am Catherine Kim, and I am here to read to you Chapter 2 of my serial story, Cursed Keepsakes. If you want to read ahead, there are a number of chapters posted over on my Ream account, and you're welcome to go over there and take a look. I will leave a link in the notes down below. So, without any further ado, I have my tea here. I'm fighting off the end of a cold, and I have my water, and I'm ready to go. Cursed Keepsakes, Chapter 2. Niko was absolutely not going to panic. Nope. Taking a deep breath in through his nose like his meditation app always told him to, he let it out slowly through his lips like he was blowing out a candle. Then he did it again, slower. Okay, what did he do? Niko was not a problem-solving sort of man. Not this sort of problem, at least. Difficulty finding the right decorative item? Certainly. Or Niko could track down a book with a cheerful heart if a customer was searching for something. But humans getting hands on objects imbued with dark magic was well outside of his skill set. Wendy. I have to call the gatekeeper, he muttered. He sank into the wooden chair beside the dresser, no doubt used for putting socks and shoes on before the old man died, and fumbled with his cell phone. Hello? Niko? Oh, damn, no, stop that! That doesn't need to... Oh, dear. There was a crash on Wendy's end and the sound of glass breaking. Okay, put that down and back up carefully. Just stand there for a minute, okay? Wendy? Oh, Niko, I'm so sorry. Can I call you back? Wendy's voice was breathless and frustrated. I have a young man here who is trying to clean out his mother's house, and I'm afraid not. This is an emergency, Niko interrupted. I'm at an estate sale. A non-community sale, in a house full of community items. There was a pause on the other end of the phone, then some rustling. What do you mean? I mean, I was out trying to find some new stock for my shop, and I looked online for local estate sales and such, and this one came up. They've been open to the public since 11, so just over 4 hours, and just since I've been here, at least 2 probably dangerous items have gone. Niko felt his heart starting to race again and took a deep, slow breath. I didn't realize at first. Nothing felt especially obvious. Just most of this house is full of warmth and cheerful family sorts of feelings. The vases. They just help preserve and display flowers in them, I bet. That sort of thing. But there are a few things. And a whole basement full of books. And what do I do? There was a moment of near silence on the other end of the line. That sounds like a lot, Niko, Wendy said at last. What do I do, Wendy? For a place that feels so warm and homely, there are a number of things in here that just feel wrong. Wendy pulled in a deep breath and hummed. I think this is going to be a problem, she said. If there are dangerous artifacts out there, in the hands of humans, regular ones, I mean. Yes, exactly. Even if they weren't human, I mean, if they all got used at the same time, we don't need that much attention. After all the trouble they had with the hunters in White Lake and the whole community here, it's too dangerous. I agree. That's why I called you, Gatekeeper, Niko said. Wendy was a wonderful woman. Smart, fierce when she was riled, and knowledgeable about all sorts of community issues. If he hadn't been certain she was 100% human, he would have sworn she was an elven scholar. Or perhaps a pixie. Few things were as colorful and shiny to a pixie scholar as a new bit of information. But gatekeepers were always human. It was technically their world, after all, although the non-humans had been here for so long they were nearly native. It had been millennia since the gates had closed, after all. But I can't leave this mess here. Oh dear, and Alec is out of town this week for a job. Would you deal with this for me? At least for now? Niko blinked. There was no way she'd just asked him to deal with a disaster of such epic proportions. But how? Well, first, there was another crash from the other end of the conversation. Oh, hell. Niko, you're such a smart man. I know that you can figure something out. It sounded like she was hurrying somewhere now. Maybe you go through the house and pull aside everything that feels dangerous to you? I've already grabbed the few things I noticed earlier that were still here, but there are several items that are gone. Sold, I presume. Niko looked wildly over at the dresser. And I am not... This is not my area of expertise. I know a great deal of theory, but have not very much practical experience with this sort of... Damn, I suppose that means we're going to have to track those things down. Okay, well, grab what you can and try to buy up that library. I can cover the costs. There's a small fund for emergencies. And I'd say this qualifies. Perhaps you can sell the books that aren't dangerous, and we could split the costs? We'll figure that out. Oh, no, didn't I tell you to stand still? Wendy's voice grew distant, as if she had pulled the phone away from her face. Muffled voices in the background answered her, and Niko could swear someone was laughing. Okay, Niko. Wendy came back sounding just shy of angry. I'm going to send some help. He's going to bring a truck, and you can load everything into it. We'll sort through everything once it's here, or maybe at your shop, if that's okay. This is going to take a while here, but if you can just wrangle everything that's there to somewhere safe, that would be amazing. I suppose I can supervise loading things into a truck. It meant that Niko would have to stay where he was, rather than finally escaping to the peace and solitude of his shop immediately. Good, Wendy said. And if you could convince whoever is running this thing to close up for the day, that would be great. You could buy us some time. I shall try. I know you don't like to use your abilities, but this is an emergency, Niko. If your usual persuasive salesman skills don't work, maybe... Wendy was cut off by another crash. Hell, I have to go. I'll send some help. Bye. And with that, the line went dead. But... Niko frowned at his phone for a long minute, hearing what Wendy hadn't said. Niko sighed and slumped in his chair. He hated using his vampiric talents. Especially like this. He had seen firsthand what happened when a vampire let their power overwhelm their sense. His older brother Damien had gone wild when he had moved out of their parents' home. He let bloodlust control him and used his coercion and his speed to hunt humans in the nearby towns. His actions caused a vampire panic, which attracted hunters. Niko's father had been killed in the witch hunt. Well, the vampire hunt that followed. He and his mother had barely escaped, and Niko honestly had no idea what happened to Damien. Niko wanted nothing to do with any of that. It was bad enough that his very existence was looked at by many to be proof of evil. Yes, he had to drink blood to survive. He was a vampire. It was sort of a requirement for his species. However, nothing said it had to be human blood. Or straight from a body. That was the part that everyone either forgot or ignored, like those puffed-up street punks a few months ago. They had been young and stupid and full of their own importance, acting on half-understood information and pop culture mythology. It was Niko's incredible good fortune that Wendy and her boyfriend Alec were there when the three of them decided to put in a personal appearance after smashing his shop window. Wendy, in her role as gatekeeper, had taken all three idiots in hand after Alec, a pixie warrior and security specialist, had stopped them from following through on their violent threats. But if he did as Wendy asked, would he become the thing that those three expected him to be? Niko groaned. It made him feel greasy to dig around in someone's mind, and he only did it in the direst of emergencies. The sound of feet climbing the stairs shook him out of his reverie, and he looked down at the cufflinks that had left an impression in his hand as from being squeezed as if they were a stress ball. This probably qualified as an emergency, didn't it? Okay, he could do this. Taking a deep breath to fortify himself, he stood, smoothing down his jacket and resettling it on his shoulders. He nodded to himself and picked up the painting, keeping the front of the canvas facing his legs just in case. There was nobody in the hallway when he stepped out of the room, but he could hear someone shuffling around the guest room. Should he make them leave? The more things that were sold, the more Wendy would have to track down later, right? On the other hand, he hadn't felt anything negative in that room. Quite the opposite. It seemed that everything in the guest room was intended to make guests feel comfortable and to encourage a pleasant stay. While he hesitated, the person came out of the room and turned to glance up at him. "Oh, hey, going in there?" the woman asked with a polite smile. No, I have looked in there already." "Cool. I was here this morning and almost bought a painting that was in there. I guess I waffled about it too long." Her smile turned rueful. "Painting's gone. Oh well." "Yes," Niko answered, his stomach swooping in relief. "That is the way of estate sales, I'm afraid." True enough. I got some great stuff this morning anyway. An end table that's perfect for my reading nook, and a really nifty vase. I'm going to have to start buying myself flowers now," she laughed, turning back to the staircase. "Well, take care." "You as well. Have a good day," Niko answered reflexively. Well, that was best. She wasn't going to take anything else. Niko simply hoped that what she already had wasn't of the harmful variety. He hadn't noticed any enchantments on the furniture itself, but then he wasn't especially sensitive to magic, which was why it had taken him so long to notice in the first place. Blast, he muttered and hurried down the stairs. Oh, Mr. Cooper, find more treasures? Miss Cartland looked up from her clipboard and smiled. You're making out like a bandit, I see. I have found many interesting things, it's true, and I will take all the books downstairs, the whole library. Might as well start with the easy part. I called a friend who is sending a truck and someone to help me load it. Miss Cartland's eyes grew huge. The whole library? Are you sure, Mr. Cooper? Oh, yes, I'm sure that we can settle on a good price for it, he said. In fact, I might just want to go ahead and bid on the remains of the estate, if that's acceptable. My friend with the truck runs a local private museum, and she said she might be interested in several of the things as well. You know, the holidays are coming up. I can't have too much stock for gift buyers to peruse. He hoped that his voice was cheerful and calm, betraying none of the stress he felt in his heart. If he could do this without using his powers, that would be vastly preferable. Oh, my, that's... Ms. Cartland blinked at him, then looked down at her clipboard, flipping through the papers. She scanned several before looking back up at him. Let me call my client, she said, still blinking at him. I'm sure that would be fine. They were mostly concerned about sending so many perfectly nice things to a landfill. As I said, they hoped for most of the things to find new homes. They already have a few mementos that they want to keep in the family. Photographs, mainly, I believe. Oh, goodness, this would no doubt please them immensely. Niko shot her a hopefully encouraging smile as she turned away to make her call. As she stepped into the kitchen area, he hurried over to add the new items to his pile. He did hope, quite seriously, that this worked out. It would be tight for his finances, but if he was frugal for the next few months, he could manage. With some luck, most of these items would prove spell-free, or at least bear only innocent and harmless enchantments, like the one on the vase. He genuinely couldn't imagine a situation in which prettier-than-usual flowers posed a threat to the general public. But then, he had been wrong about this being a simple afternoon at an estate sale. He didn't look up when there was the soft sound of some people walking through the room talking quietly. They left, and he let a sigh of relief escape, glad that they hadn't searched for Miss Cartland to attempt to buy anything. There were some of his abilities as a vampire that he didn't hate, and he used one of them now. Reaching out with his senses, he listened carefully for heartbeats and any other sign of other people in the house. It seemed that he was striking some luck at last. The only people he could hear inside were himself and Miss Cartland. There seemed to be a lull in the flow of Sunday afternoon bargain hunters. Excellent. Niko nodded to himself and turned to the door. He could close and lock it, and that would prevent any more of the enchanted objects from wandering off into the hands of new owners. He reached the door just as it swung open, letting in a gust of cold air to reveal a young man with a denim jacket and a smirk. You! Niko gasped. What are you doing here? Hey there, leech, the elf said, his smirk growing. It's been a few months. Well, they certainly seem to know each other, and at least Niko isn't pleased with it. What do you suppose they're going to do now? Well, you're going to have to come back and find out. Until then, stay warm, stay safe, and find something good to read. Bye.